Alright fellas, here we're back in Pokemon Masters, and today we're going to be taking a look at Lodge, Skyla, and Unpheasant here. This is a very, very strong free-to-play character, definitely on par with like some of the most top-tier free-to-play characters, and even on similar tier as some like lower-tier limited characters. She's got a lot of good stuff in here. In her base kit alone, I've invested into 5 stars. She's not 5-star 20 out of 20, so she's not about 2 6-star EX. I think this is a perfectly fine investment. I will be 6-star EXing her in the middle of the showcase to then go and do another bit with her, but I want to showcase what she can do without the EX and then what she can do with it. I figure that's probably the best, and there's no real reason to split it into 2 videos, but yeah, whatever. Her stats are good. 390 attack is very solid for a free-to-play character. Other stats don't really matter too much. The defenses could afford to be better, but I'm not going to complain, especially because, again, she can 6-star EX, which increases her stats a lot. Her moves, she's got Brave Bird for her main form of DPS, 160 power, their hit plus 4 critical hit self-sufficiency, and her trainer move, which raises her attack by 4 and applies super effective next, which is also very, very nice there. In her passive, she has recoil removal 9, which completely mitigates all recoil from Brave Bird, even better than that of like Standfast 9, right? So that's amazing, for sure. Haymaker, a 100% total sync nuke multiplier for the more her attack is raised, which again, very easy to activate because of the plus 4 attack she gives to herself. All this means is you need to bring any support or ally that can buff her attack to plus 6, and you've got a maxed out Haymaker. Very easy. She has her sync move physical boost up to 9, which increases physical moves next by 2 after using the user's sync move. This is an extremely strong ability because her nuke is already not bad for free-to-play standards, and that means you just effectively get plus 2 sync moves, meaning your next Brave Bird, or Aerial Ace, okay, your next Brave Bird is going to be very strong. The grid is very good as well. Not to go over everything, but just the stuff I picked up. She's got Furious Brawn, which is a 30% DPS multiplier, so Brave Bird's doing even more damage. She's got Brawn Sync 3 for better sync power, and a total of 4 sync nodes, which, with extra grid energy, if you do want to unlock her cap, you can pick up all 4 here. It just costs an extra 9 energy. No, sorry. Well, I guess 11 energy here, but you can take off this. So if you just take off this and get your grid here, it just costs 11 energy, and you can get all of that with the extra unlock cap here. So that's very, very good. If you want to max out Skyla's grid, you can do that and get everything that's very useful. I'm not going to do that for showcase standards, and I also just figure I don't need to do that for her anyway, despite the fact that I do like the character. I haven't unlocked many grids just in general. I figure it's probably better just to preserve that. But she also can do on-type damage. Let's just go back in the grid, I guess, because she does have double down 5. Obviously, she could do on-type damage fine, but she does even better with double down 5 here if you do want to pick that up. I do have a grid built for her off-type sync nuke as well as on-type sync nuke, and we're going to be looking at both today, both without 6-star EX and with 6-star EX. So that's all I've got to say. Let's hop into these battles. Lodge Skyla looks crazy on paper. Let's make sure that she actually is. So what better way to start off than by using triple Skyla here? So figured why not. Skyla and Swanna actually have fanfare on their grid, so if we go for the support EX, we can actually get plus 2 attack and max out Skyla and Unpheasant's Haymaker and Furious Brawn, which is pretty good, right? Of course, we obviously have Anniversary Skyla here for Flying Zone, as well as flinches with her air cutter, and speed buffs is nice, and mini potions, etc, etc. All that stuff's pretty good, and the Team Sharp Entry one was vital for us being able to actually pick up the half MP, so that was fun. Either way, starting off for the damage, not really anything too crazy. 2,000 damage on a Brave Bird isn't like absurd, obviously, but that's obviously considering without 6-star EX as well as no sync buffs, right? So fair enough, and no Flying Zone as well, because I did have to preserve the MP for that. 6,000 damage there on that, which is actually pretty good. It's pretty good damage. But that is with, yeah, just support EX actually, right? And I think at this point now we can actually go for Flying Zone, so 7,000 damage on type without Flying Zone is pretty damn good. It's pretty strong, realistically speaking. And again, as said before, this is without having Flying Zone activated, so she's definitely got the ability to do better numbers than this. And also no defensive debuffs, no physical moves next besides, you know, the first attack, right? Pretty good stuff, I would say. Probably would have been a little bit more effective to go for the sync move on, or sorry, keep going for the sync move on Koga, but probably would have been better to attack his size to weaken them down a bit, but oh well. 43,000 damage is pretty good. I mean, let's be honest here. Now we've got plus 2 physical moves next and Flying Zone here. What is our damage looking like? 9,000 damage. I mean, it could be better. It could be better, but I mean, fair enough. That's still pretty good for free-to-play standards, right? And then 6,000 damage pretty consistently after that. Pretty good. pretty good. So that works out. And again, this is what 6-star AX and whatnot. So you can definitely compensate for some damage lost there by using defensive debuffs or by using more physical moves next, more super effective next, whatever it may be. I was contemplating using Special Costume Steven to showcase alongside her just for fun, but I just went ahead and went against it because we did obviously do a Special Costume Steven showcase yesterday. So hey, don't think I need to do that twice, though I honestly probably should anyway just for fun, but I've already got enough footage lined up for this one, so I think I'm gonna just stick with what I got. So yeah, there was the triple Skyla bit of the showcase. Let's go ahead, hop into the next battle, utilize her for nuking. So the second battle here is going to be utilizing Variety Bruno and Duroc here in order to do, for one, with Duroc, secondary DPS, as well as being able to apply critical hit defense, or sorry, protect against critical hit defense. We can get rid of it with the fog. And then Bruno here is for attack maximizing because his training move does apply attack buffs by 2, and he's also able to apply defense debuffs with Screech, which is helpful for making sure these enemies take a little bit less damage. Though, sadly, we're not able to debuff the middle enough before Bruno ends up going down, but it really doesn't end up mattering because, again, Skyla, pretty damn strong, nevertheless. Whatever, either way. Bruno's able to survive for long enough to get that right side to -4 defense, and then get the left side here to -2 defense, which then segues pretty well into Skyla's nuke here. So it's pretty good. Sadly, we go down to endurance, but hey, that's what happens when you get hit with a point-blank energy ball on a physically defensive support. Oh well, whatever. But yeah, should have gone for Duroc's training move for a bit more gauge efficiency here, but really it's not that big of an issue because every time Bruno gets hit, we do have the team swift reaction, which is helping out with gauge. And again, should have just gone for Duroc's training move there, but oh well, it's fine. Yeah, his training move. Either way, Bruno now goes down with having enemy at -1 defense, and then the left side here at -4 defense, which thankfully we are able to KO them in order to get even more turn denial in, so the fact that Bruno did go down doesn't really matter, because we can survive this next attack with no issue, even though it's next speed all, and we can effectively KO them. 5,500 damage from Skyla pretty consistently after one sync buff is pretty good without having Flying Zone or any more defense debuffing, or again, physical moves next, something like that. Great partner for Skyla. Obviously, you could run like Sigma Acerola, but one of the bigger ones, not bigger ones, but one of the ones I feel like I would prefer the most would be Argenta. Argenta being able to maximize attack and do infinite physical moves next would be pretty damn useful for Skyla, even despite the fact that there are probably better supports, right? I do think that Argenta would be a good one to show. Also being another flying character. I think Argenta is actually Steel, but she's, got Skarmory. It's a flying Pokemon. And I think she has max airstream anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah. There was a showcase part with Variety Bruno and Duroc to maximize on Skyla's nuking ability because her DPS, while is decent, is not really the most impressive part of her kit. It's more so the fact that she can do a very solid nuke for being a free character. 180% in total multipliers for a free-to-play Lodge unit is no real joke. So yeah, that ends the free-to-play portion of this setup. Let's go ahead and go to the non-EX port of the setup. Let's go ahead and go to 6-star EX. Here with 6-star EX Skyla, as you can see, we've got 410 attack there, pretty good for sure in order to help out and maximizing her damage. This is a setup that I figured would be pretty fun to run, just for showcasing her super effective AoE nuke. We've got ourselves Clay and Palatine's Elisa for the triple Unova Gym Leader, I guess Gym Leader Trio, whatever you want to call it. I think all these characters have some decent relation, especially with both of them being having some relation to Elisa, because Clay and Elisa are friends, and Skyla and Elisa obviously are friends, so I mean, there's the relation there for the setup, I guess. For any of you that are interested, either way, whatever. We go ahead and go for the fly on the left side there just so we can damage it a bit, though I don't think it ends up really mattering. And I did this strategically to try and get the super effective next and whatnot on Elisa to where the enemy wouldn't have their move queued up. Thankfully, it didn't matter too much. Either way, we were able to quad Q there and use the Brave Bird on that left pincer, and then we were able to use Elisa's training move to get the super effective next on her, so then her next fly would do a lot more damage to the middle. That was the ultimate goal. And we're also able to utilize Clay here with his endurance spam. That's pretty much the reason I'm excusing him for being on this team, even though the fact that literally anyone would be realistically better, is the fact that Clay can do double endurance and act as a support, so that's the reason he's here, is for support, despite the fact that we don't need one. He's here to be able to take a hit, which clearly he did. He managed that and succeeded pretty well. So, yeah. Either way, there was your two Unova besties put together, Elisa and Skyla, and then Clay here kind of third wheeling. That's pretty much it. Two solid flying strikers. I would say that they synergize pretty well together, all things considered. being obviously at least in Skyla, and then both being flying types that are more oriented towards super effective damage. Obviously, Lodge Skyla can do off-type damage, which we're going to showcase here in a second, but still, I think that being able to do these two characters together with super effective damage is pretty good synergy for a Lodge character and a limited unit that came out over a year ago, right? So, yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the next setup where we utilize Skyla for off-type damage. Alright, here we are for the battle versus Grimsley with the off-type setup. We've got ourselves Sonia and Yamper, as well as Anniversary Steven and Shiny Rayquaza Sparkles. Flying is my favorite type, so being able to utilize all these different flying types in this video was really, really fun, centered around Skyla, of course. Big thing here is that we go for Skyla's nuke towards the middle of the battle. Obviously, first option, we have our sync move available, and we're able to utilize Sonia for defensive debuffs, which is helpful in getting Skyla better damage, and also gauge management, which was a pretty glaring issue for a part of this battle, so I'm glad that we're actually able to handle that, which is fun. Whatever. So we go ahead and go for Skyla's nuke here and go for the Dragon Ascent on Steven. It doesn't matter if we're unable to queue up a move with one of these characters here, as long as we KO this side. If we don't KO this side, then we got ourselves a problem. 8,000 damage on the side with the -2 defense is pretty damn good, let's be honest. Go ahead and go for the Brave Bird here as well. +2 physical moves next from using the sync move. That is an extremely strong ability, by the way. That like big hit of burst damage is really, really good. We go ahead and go for the Aerial Ace due to lack of gauge. We don't have to next turn, thankfully. Whatever. Either way, yeah. So go ahead and go for the tackle to get the defense debuff in, so we can then maximize our damage on our next Brave Bird. Couldn't do that with Steven because of his 4 gauge move, but thankfully now gauge is finally starting to actually not be super dog shit. So we can actually do some damage here, right? It was mostly just dealing with gauge for this battle, I would say. Nothing else was really too worrying. Sonia is still really good. For a general pull support, she is still really good. 12,000 damage on the sync move there. That is, for off-type standards, that is quite good. No flying zone, no like super effective, again, no super effective damage, no maximized defensive debuffs, right? That's pretty damn good for a free-to-play character. Only real benefit that she's getting here that she wouldn't be otherwise is like the master passive from Steven, but that's Flag Bearer, and it's only like 10%, 20%, something like that, because Steven's the only Hoenn ally on the team, so that's really, really good for sure. For off-type standards, I'm not going to say she's going to be able to sweep like Kalos or Hoenn without like big investment from more top-tier strikers, or sorry, supports or other allies and whatnot, but I will say that she can definitely put her in her own work, especially by herself in these lower-tier stadiums, right? Like, Steven's not exactly what I would call a very impressive DPS unit, or impressive unit in general, but combined with Skyla, they were able to pull through and do a pretty easy off-type for one of these lower-tier stadiums, which is relatively impressive given 3,000 point master mode, so that's nice. Anyway, let's move on and finish this off with a legendary arena battle against Tapu Bulu. Alright, here we are against Tapu Bulu with Lodge Blue and Skyla and Unpheasant here. This is a duo. Pretty simple, honestly. The thing here is I got really fucking unlucky with these flinches. Blue would not flinch to save his fucking gonads, okay? Which is really annoying, but the move gauge refreshes were helpful, so I admit that Blue did do pretty good in that regard, so whatever. Either way, still trying to get the flinches in here. It's not working. Skyla does want to build up a little bit by maxing her crit and whatnot. Blue also wants to be able to use his trainer move because, again, gauge is a little bit iffy here. So I want to use Blue's trainer move a ton, but I can't because I can't get a flinch in, which is annoying. And I do have Blue 6-star EX. Obviously, if you don't have Blue EX for the support EX, then just go for Skyla's trainer move instead. That's the smarter decision. Whatever. Doesn't matter here, though, because this is a pretty easy solo, given everything. Not that Tapu Bulu is like an absurdly difficult legendary arena or anything like that, but, I mean, it was still pretty damn effective. Go ahead. Blue hits Tapu Bulu just as it runs out of flinch, because that's just my luck, generally. I wanted to go for enough attacks to KO Bulu with this on this bar, but I didn't want to use the sync move on this bar. I wanted to save the sync move for the next bar, which didn't really end up mattering too much, I want to say, but whatever, you'll see that here in a second. Either way, we go ahead, finish off Tapu Bulu here effectively by using the Brave Bird and then going into the sync move here. Sadly, again, I don't think we get a flinch. Do we? No. Of course we don't. And I don't have much of an opportunity here to use Blue's turn move so we can maximize our speed. Again, thank you, Blue, for your flinching. Great luck. Because we also don't crit on the sync move, yeah. That was the big thing that I was annoyed with, is that we didn't crit on the sync move, so preserving all of the energy to use the sync move just for it to not crit was a little pointless, but oh well. It did some damage, I guess, because it's not like nearly as detrimental to fail a crit in a Legendary Arena as it would be like a Stadium battle or probably an Ultimate battle as well, right? Finally, we are able to go for our trainer move here so we can actually maximize our speed. Not even maximize it, just +1. Whatever. Doesn't matter too much. We go ahead and finish off the second bar of Bulu here with a Brave Bird, and that is now going to enable us to go for our nuke, which is, as the name implies, pretty nuclear. This is a strong sync move. Yeah, 19,000 damage, pretty good with only having 3 sync buffs. And obviously no theme skills and no defensive debuffs and whatever else. Pretty damn solid. And then Brave Bird finishes off with pretty much what is another sync move in strength. Yeah, this was built for the double down grid, so 50% sync nuke on these super effective stages. Obviously you could build for an off type, I guess, build with 1 or 2 extra sync nodes instead of double down, but I felt that it was more valuable to be able to do as much damage to the final bar especially as possible, and the first bar too. Obviously, that middle bar being poisoned a little bit, it trips things up a little bit, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad to deal with. So either way, yeah, there was this duo versus Tapu Bulu with Skyla. Could she solo? I mean, maybe. Like if you give her Grass Guard or like Healthy Healing or something, I don't know. I'd have to look at her grid. Either way. Whatever it may be, this character's definitely great. Maybe not like the best Gauntlet character ever, but hey, duo versus Tapu Bulu, good enough for me. You don't really need too much to make it succeed, just a few lucky flinches, or just bring like a speed buffer and have actually efficient gauge. But I digress. That was it. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you think about Lodge Skyla down in the comments below. I think she's a very, very solid free-to-play striker character. Flying type definitely could use the help. She effectively replaced Kahili because despite Kahili having better stats, Kahili does not have DPS or, well, she does have DPS, but not great DPS. But she also does not have a 6-star EX. So that's a pretty big indicator. Skyla does take over that role now and is still just a very, very strong free-to-play character in her own right. So I'm impressed. I like Skyla. I like the whole Nimbasa trio, I guess, with Lisa, Ingo, and Emmett, and then Skyla also bundled into that. Very fun stuff. So I'm glad that we finally got this character in the lodge, and I'm glad she is cracked effectively. So that's very, very fun. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. See you all later.